the far corners of the galaxy, there was one name that made entire planets kneel in fear: the Black Vultures. They were the Empire's deadliest killers, fast, silent, and cruel. When they arrived, nothing survived. No enemy, no witness. Just silence and broken bones. People whispered their name in fear. Even high-ranking generals avoided talking about them. And when they did speak, it was with shaking hands and lowered voices. The Black Vultures were not normal soldiers. They were trained from birth, fed only on pain and victory. Machines were part of their bodies. Fear was removed from their minds. They didn't sleep. They didn't feel. They only killed. And now, they were being sent to a forgotten planet. The planet was called Earth, a dark, metal room inside the Empire's flagship. Cold, silent. Commander Varnak stood tall in front of the Vultures. He looked like a soldier, but even he kept a safe distance from the team. "You have your orders," he said in a cold voice. "One target. Human. Eliminate." He tapped a glowing screen. A blurry image appeared. A man, middle-aged, wearing Earth combat armor, covered in dirt and blood. This human, Varnak continued, destroyed an Imperial cruiser alone. We found only wreckage. His DNA was recovered from burned bodies. Somehow, he walked away. A few of the Black Vultures leaned forward. Varnak frowned. "This is not just a mission. It is a warning. We send you not to ask questions. We send you to end him." He turned to walk away, but stopped at the door. His voice lowered, and remember, the last team didn't come back. Deep in the shadows of the ship, a junior officer named Real watched the Vultures prepare. She had seen many things: war, death, victory, but these killers made her. Stomach twist, she whispered to her friend, "Why send them to Earth? It's a forgotten rock." Her friend didn't answer. Real looked down at the mission log. Her eyes widened. She saw the name of the human, Cade Wren. Below the name, there was a note, red bold: "Do not engage. Terminated project. Extreme risk." The last survivor of Earth's Ghost Division? Real's hands shook. She had heard stories about the ghosts, humans trained to disappear, kill, and vanish. Some said they were not human anymore. And now, the Empire had sent their best killers to fight one. She looked out the window as the Vulture's ship flew into deep space. "I hope they come back," she whispered. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, the wind howled through broken buildings. Cities had fallen long ago. Nature had taken back the land. Trees grew through empty homes. Wild animals ruled the roads, but someone else was there. Cade Wren sat near a small fire. His armor was old, but well-maintained. Scars ran across his arms and face. His eyes were sharp, cold. He heard the ship before he saw it, a soft hum in the sky. Too smooth for a cargo ship, too quiet for anything friendly. He stood up slowly, picked up his rifle, his knife, his old cum device. He looked up. "I was wondering when they'd come." Back in space, inside the Vulture's dropship, the killers sat in silence. Their leader, Unit Commander Zell, studied Cade's file. He saw the kill records, missions marked classified. Notes written by Terran generals, warning, "If lost, do not recover." Too dangerous. Zell smiled. Finally a challenge. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere. The team landed in the ruins of an old city, buildings like bones. Sky red with dusk, they moved quickly. Quiet, no sound. No mistakes, but they didn't know something important. Cade wasn't hiding. He was hunting in a control room hidden beneath the Earth. Cade watched them on old cameras. 10 of them, black armor. Red visors, perfect formation. He smiled, a dry, cold smile. "Empire's secret weapon, huh?" he whispered. "Let's test." He pulled a switch. Doors closed across the city. Old power systems came online, traps armed and deep in the ruins. Cade disappeared into shadow. The game had started. The killers thought they were the hunters. But something darker was waiting for them. A ghost. A human weapon, long abandoned by his own people. And as night fell on Earth, one thing became clear. Only one side would survive. The Black Vultures had landed. 10 of the deadliest beings in the galaxy stepped into the ruins of Earth with cold silence. Their armor was black as space. Their movements were perfect. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Each one had ended wars alone. Entire planets had fallen to just 3 of them. Now, 10 were hunting one man. But they didn't know this land. They didn't know Earth, and they didn't know Cade Wren, deep beneath the broken ground. In a hidden bunker from Earth's forgotten wars, Cade watched the invaders through cracked screens. Cameras still worked. Some old tech still responded. His fingers moved fast, adjusting angles, tagging targets. He counted them. 10, he muttered. Empire sent all 10. He reached beside him. A small, dusty photo sat on a steel table. It showed 5 humans in black armor. Earth's Ghost Division, its old squad. All gone now. He touched the photo gently, then stood. Let's finish what they started. The city above was quiet. Too quiet, the vultures moved like shadows. No footsteps, no sound. Their helmets scanned every wall, every rooftop. But the scans came back. Empty. No life signs. No heat. Nothing, Zell. Their leader raised a hand. The team stopped. He looked around. His eyes narrowed behind his red visor. This is wrong, he said. His voice was cold, mechanical. Target should have engaged. Or fled, but he's waiting. Cade moved through the underground like a ghost. He didn't run. He didn't panic. He had prepared for this. He had known they would come. The Empire never left loose ends. Cade was a very dangerous loose end. He passed by old weapons, locked boxes, and signs from Earth's last war. One wall had scratched words, "Deathworlders never kneel." He touched the wall with a gloved hand. "No," he whispered. "We don't." Back on the surface, the vultures split into smaller teams. 3 went north, into the ruins of a skyscraper. 2 headed toward a destroyed subway tunnel. Zell and the rest moved through the center, scanning every meter. Then static. One of the teams vanished from the comms. No warning, no signal, no sound, just silence. Zell paused. His eyes narrowed. Reform squads move together. Ghost is active. But he was already too late in the subway tunnel. 2 vultures found something strange. A single light, hanging, flickering below it. Human helmet. One bent to scan it. Click. The trap activated. Fire and steel exploded from the walls. One killer. Lost both legs instantly. The other screamed a sound no one had ever heard from a black. Vulture Cade stepped from the shadows behind them. 2 quick shots. 2 bodies hit the ground, no words, no mercy. The remaining vultures regrouped. 5 now, faces unreadable behind their helmets. Exiel played the last recording from the lost squad. There was only a whisper. He's not hiding. He's watching. His bunker, Cade cleaned his knife. No joy, no pride. Just focus. He didn't kill for fun. But Earth had rules. One of them was clear. You don't step onto Earth and expect to leave. That night, a storm rolled in. Rain poured over the dead city. The vultures moved slower now. Less confident, they scanned every wall, every crack. But Cade was always behind them, above them, watching, testing their fear, and fear was finally growing. In a broken control tower, Zell stood alone, looking over the city. He was no fool. Had studied humans, fought them, crushed them. But this wasn't normal. This wasn't war. This was something else. He tapped into the Imperial network, called for limited backup, just in case. But the reply came back locked. No support approved. Mission classified. Of course, Empire didn't believe in failure. And they didn't expect 10 of their best to die. Zell looked out into the darkness. He's hunting us. Back in the tunnels, Cade placed another trap. Simple, silent, lethal. He moved like the wind, a weapon built by war, shaped by loss, forged by betrayal, and deep inside. Something darker stirred. This wasn't just a mission for him. This was personal. They killed his team. They tried to erase his name now. He would erase them. The black vultures were not used to waiting, not used to bleeding. But tonight, one thing. It was clear they came for a man. But they walked into the territory of something far worse. A death worlder with nothing left to lose. They thought they were the hunters, but they didn't see the tripwires. They didn't hear the breathing in the walls. They didn't notice the silence growing thicker by the minute. The black vultures, once feared by the galaxy, were now walking through a ghost city, slowly realizing they were being hunted in the broken heart of Earth's ruins. The killers moved through the remains of an old power station. It was quiet. Too quiet, one of them, Vulture 6. Scanned the area with heat sensors. Nothing, no movement, he said. Then, he saw something. A figure. Small. Human-sized. Standing in the middle of the open floor. Facing away, target located, he reported. XEL responded coldly. Capture or eliminate. Vulture 6 moved forward. He aimed his plasma rifle. The figure didn't move. Hands up, he ordered. Still no reaction. He stepped closer. That was his last step. The body exploded. Not with fire. Not with light, but with hundreds of razor-sharp metal shards. A decoy. A trap. The blast tore through Vulture 6's armor. His helmet cracked. His chest plate shattered. He dropped to the floor, gasping. Blood leaked from the cracks. The other vultures rushed in, but Cade was already moving. From a hole in the ceiling. He dropped down behind them, silent, fast. One quick. Slash Vulture 4's neck sliced open. Another shot Vulture 7 took. A blade through the visor. Panic spread. They fired in all directions. But Cade had vanished again. Smoke filled the air. Only the sound of broken. Breathing remained. Zell grabbed his last 3 team members and pulled back. Regroup, he ordered. Tight formation. No solo movement. He looked down at what was left of Vulture-6. The chest was gone. Only armor fragments remained. No one spoke. They all understood now. This human wasn't just fighting. He was winning. Far above. In the remains of an old tower, Cade watched from a sniper nest. He breathed slow. No joy, no satisfaction, just cold. Focus. He had learned long ago victory didn't mean surviving. It meant being the last problem the enemy couldn't solve, and Cade was a big problem. Hours passed. The vultures changed tactics. No more splitting up, no more open areas. They moved as one. But even together, they weren't safe. Cade had filled the city with traps over years, mines buried beneath bricks. Sound-based. Pressure bombs. One false step, and it was over at midnight. They tried to hide in an underground bunker. They locked the doors. They shut off all signals for the first time in their lives. They were hiding inside the bunker. One of them whispered, "Why doesn't he show himself?" Zell answered flatly. "He already has." They looked around. Blood on their armor. Cracks in their helmets. They had lost half the team to one man. No, not a man. Something else suddenly. The lights flickered, then turned red. A voice came through the speaker dode. Old. Rough. Cade's voice. "You stepped into my world." Static crackled. "You want to see me? You want to finish this?" The voice grew colder. "Come outside. Let's talk." Then silence. Zell stood. He knew it was a trap. Every part of his training told him not to go, but his pride was broken. Mission was falling apart. He turned to the others. "We meet him." He stepped out into the ruins again. The city felt alive now. Watching them. Breathing. The red moonlight made the walls look like blood. Then, saw him, standing calmly in the center of the square. One rifle on his back, a knife in his hand. No armor, just scars and steel eyes. Cade. They aimed their weapons. Cade raised his hand slowly, then dropped something. It hit the ground with a clink. It was a vulture helmet burned, melted, Still smoking, Cade spoke. You came to take me. Stepped forward. I'll give you something else. He pointed at them. Pain. Then he disappeared into the smoke again. Gunfire echoed through the night. Another vulture fell. Then another screams, explosions, and Cade's voice quiet but clear, like a ghost in their ears. First mistake. You came. The galaxy would never understand what happened on Earth, because by the time the sun rose, only 3 vultures were left, and their minds were already breaking. The night didn't end. It stretched on like a nightmare with no waking. Rain fell over the ruins, cold and endless, and the black vultures were no longer acting like killers. Now, they looked like prey. 3 remained. XEL, Vulture 2, Vulture-9. They had lost 7 of their own in less than 24 hours. Not in battle, not in open war, but piece by piece, ambushed, disarmed, broken, and always. Building. Zell stood over a table made from broken stone. He laid out a rough map. His hands trembled slightly, the first sign of fear. This isn't a soldier, he said coldly. Vulture-9 shook his head. He's an animal, no, Zell replied. Worse, he thinks like us, but fights like something born in hell. They looked at each other. They were the Empire's most feared killers, and now they were planning how not to die. Vulture 2 had always been silent, a sniper, cold, perfect. Now she was shaking. She checked her rifle 3 times, hands twitching earlier. She had found a knife in her gear bag. It wasn't hers. It was his. He had been inside their bunker, watching them, leaving messages, each one louder than words. Cade wasn't playing anymore. He was finishing it, far from the vultures. In the dark skeleton of an old human church, Cade sat still, eyes closed. Breathing slow, he listened to the wind move through. Broken glass to him, this wasn't war, it was cleansing. They had come to kill him now. He would erase them, not for himself, for the ghosts that followed him, his fallen squad. He stood, picked up a rusted dog tag, and put it around his neck. Then he walked out into the storm. Hours passed, the vultures tried to move, quietly, carefully. They followed an alley filled with shattered metal and thick shadows. Then a sound, metal scraping. They froze. Too late, a wire snapped. A wall of spikes dropped from above. Vulture-9 screamed, crushed under the weight. His body twitched once, then stopped. Zell didn't speak. Vulture-2 stared at the blood on her visor. They were trained to ignore death. But this wasn't normal. This was personal. Targeted, cruel, suddenly. A voice crackled in their sums. It was distorted. Low. You're the last. He spun around, scanning. No sign of him. You came to take my life, the voice whispered. I'll take your fear, piece by piece. Static followed, then laughter. Not loud, not wild, just tired, dead inside. Vulture-2 ran, not ordered. No plan. She just ran down the street, and past burned cars and crumbling walls. She turned a corner and fell straight into a pit. Steel spikes waited below. Her scream echoed once, then silence. Now. Only one remained. Commander? XEL. He stood alone in the middle of the street, his black armor stained, dust and blood, his face behind the visor unreadable. But inside, his mind spun with confusion. This wasn't war. This wasn't a soldier. This was a message. Zell shouted into the air, "Show yourself." Silence. "I am not afraid of you," a voice answered, from everywhere and nowhere. Liar. Suddenly, smoke filled the air. A flash grenade exploded near Zell's feet. He dropped to one knee, weapon ready. From the smoke, a figure walked out, slow, calm, Cade face cold. Eyes empty, holding only a blade. Zell fired, but Cade was already gone. Behind. Him/.xel spun, arm bleeding. They fought hand to hand, one a perfect weapon of the Empire, the other a forgotten ghost of Earth. Steel clashed. Bones cracked, blood hit the walls, then dashed silence. Exel fell to his knees, chest plate broken. Breathing heavy, Cade stood over him, no expression, no words. He just looked at the last vulture, then turned, and walked away. Zell collapsed. He looked at the sky through his broken visor for the first time in his life. He was afraid. Somehow, hours later, the Empire found him, half-dashed dead, rambling about ghosts, traps, shadows, and one sentence he repeated again and again. He doesn't die. He doesn't stop. The dropship landed in silence. A single stretcher came out, carrying the broken body of Commander Zell, the last survivor of the Black Vultures. He wasn't speaking anymore. His armor was crushed, his right hand missing, his eyes wide open, staring at nothing. He had faced death many times. But this time, it had followed him home. The Imperial High Command was silent as the report came in. 10 vultures deployed. 9 confirmed dead. 1 returned alive, but ruined. No one could believe it. A single human had done this. A single man, with no army. Fleet, just skill. Patience. Rage Admiral Trell stood before the Emperor. Holding a file, it was thin. Only 5 pages. That was all they had on the target. No photos. No recent data. Just a name, Cade Renand. A code name, Project Revenant. What is this? Project Revenant, the Emperor asked. His voice was calm, but his claws tapped the side of his throne. Nervous, Trell swallowed. It was a Terran experiment. Long ago, after their final planetary wars, they wanted to create something ... different. Different how? Trell stared at the floor. No fear, no loyalty, no family. Just instinct, survival, execution, ghost soldiers that could disappear. Strike and vanish. The Emperor leaned forward. And this Cade? Trell answered slowly. He was the last. The others were killed or lost control, but he remained. Hidden. Waiting. The room went cold. The Empire had conquered hundreds of planets, but this was something they hadn't planned for. One ghost buried under rubble and time. Now, awake, now angry. Meanwhile, far from the stars and ships, Cade walked through the ruins of Earth, not fast, not like a man escaping, but like someone waiting. Watching, he had returned to a hidden Kavan old command center deep underground. Inside were pieces of old gear, photos, medals, and memory chips. He placed the dog tags of the fallen Black Vultures on the table. Then, he opened a metal case. Inside was a single file drive. He plugged it into the wall panel. A voice played, soft, familiar. Commander Cade Wren, Ghost Unit 12. Final order, do not return to command. If found alive, this message confirms your termination. Cade didn't blink. He had known for years. Earth had erased him, left him behind. But now, the Empire had remembered him, and that was their mistake. On a distant moon, a secret Imperial research base was placed under alert. Why? Because the message had spread. The vultures were dead, destroyed by a human who should not exist. And worse, that human was coming. A technician whispered to her commander, "Should we send a larger force?" The commander answered, "To stop one man?" Then the technician showed her something, a recovered helmet feed from Zell. Just 3 seconds, eh? Blur in the shadows, 2 glowing eyes, and then silence. The commander's face turned pale. "Cancel the next drop team," she said. "We're not dealing with a man." Back on Earth, Cade stood before a cracked mirror. He saw his face, a mix of age and war. Then, he reached into his pocket and pulled out something old. A badge, worn, burned, faded, the words barely visible. Ghost Division, Earth/Shadow. He pinned it to his chest. He spoke quietly as if to no one. "They tried to erase me." He looked to the sky. "They should have killed me." In orbit, The Empire's War Council gathered. Each alien commander reported rising fear in the outer colonies. 1. Sentence kept appearing in intercepted messages: "The ghost is real." Another officer added, "Some say he's not human, that he's the spirit of Earth's revenge." The Emperor stood. This stops now. He turned to his elite force, the Red Suns, second only to the Black Vultures. "Send them, if you must, but I want his body." Bodies don't always mean death. Not when you're hunting a revenant. Not when that revenant is hunting you back. Commander Zell sat alone in a locked medical pod aboard the Empire's flagship. His body, it was broken, but his mind. Worse, he didn't sleep, didn't eat. Just sat staring into space. He kept whispering the same thing again and again. He didn't fight like a man. He moved like death. The medics tried to speak to him, nothing. The generals tried to question him, still nothing. Until one day he turned slowly toward the glass and said one name, Cade Wren, and then added something else. "Don't follow him. Don't find him. Just leave Earth alone." But it was too late for that. The Empire had already sent their next killers. The Red Suns, faster, louder, more brutal than the Vultures. Their goal was not capture. Their mission was to turn Earth into glass, but they never arrived. Cade didn't wait for them to come. He went to them, on a desert planet called Ferox 3. The Red Suns had landed to prepare. A fortress base. Armored walls. Full shield protection. Safe, they thought. That night, something entered their camp. No alarms. No doors broken. Just screams. By morning, their commander was missing. A blood-smeared message written on the bunker wall. "I told you. Stop sending them back." In orbit, panic spread. 2 elite teams. It's destroyed no survivors, and no trace of the human. But one being was still alive. One who had seen him up close. One who had survived. Barely Commander X yelled inside the dark med pod. He watched old footage again. And again, a blurred figure. Smoke, knives, eyes glowing from shadows. Then, silence. His hand shook as he reached for a data chip. He inserted it into the system and began to record. "To whoever finds this." His voice was low, rough, and shaking. "You think you're sending soldiers after a man? You're wrong." He paused. "He's not fighting because he hates you. He's fighting because you brought back something you buried. He's a broken weapon. When a weapon breaks, it cuts everything. Even the ones who built it." He stared at the camera. "Don't chase him. Because the closer you get, the more pieces come back." At that same moment, Cade stood over the ashes of the Red Sun base. He wore new gear now, scavenged from the fallen. One of the visors, a chest plate, a mix of enemy armor and old earth steel. A walking graveyard. He knelt beside a body and picked up a tag. Another killer erased, another message sent. But he knew they would keep coming. He pulled out an old radio and opened a secure frequency. Then he said 4 words, calm and slow. "Stop, or I come." And he meant it. The transmission reached dozens of Empire outposts. It echoed through ships, stations, and war rooms. At first, commanders laughed, a threat from one man. But then, their faces fell silent when the visuals came in. Dozens of dead elite troopers, sliced armor, ripped helmets, all from one strike team, all from him far away. In the ruins of Earth, something stirred. The bunker where Cade once slept powered. Up old Earth tech. Still alive? A screen blinked. Ghost signal detected. Another survivor? Or something else? And deep in his broken mind, even Zell felt it. He sat up, eyes wide, a whisper from his own past. A word from training long ago. He whispered it now. Revenant protocol. Then he screamed. He's not alone. The Empire didn't believe him, not yet, but soon. They would learn the last vulture had seen the truth. Cade wasn't the end. He was the beginning. The Imperial throne room was silent. 10 warlords stood around the Emperor, all armed, all powerful, but none spoke because in front of them, floated a black data capsule. It was small, burned, blood-smeared, and inside it carried a message that had already shaken the galaxy. The Emperor motioned with one finger. A guard stepped forward and opened the capsule. A small hologram flickered to life. Static, crackling then. Voice cold, calm. Code, calm. Human, Cade Wren. If you're seeing this, he said, then you've sent enough killers. Cade stood alone, holding the torn helmet of a Red Sun elite, blood dripping from it. I don't want your war, he said. I didn't start this. You sent the Black Vultures. I sent back their pieces. You sent the Red Suns. I left their base in ashes. He took a step closer to the camera, eyes unblinking. Send another team, he said quietly, and I come to you. Then the image cut to a short clip. It showed Bodhi's elite soldiers scattered across a wasteland, their armor torn open. One last shot, the Empire's banner. Burning in the dirt, then silence. The hologram ended. No one in the room moved. Even the Emperor's claws had stopped tapping. He's threatening the throne. One general growled. He's alone, another snapped. One man can't challenge the Empire. But the admiral who had survived the Ghost War stood slowly. Are you sure he's alone? The Emperor said nothing for a moment. Then he turned to his war council. Where is he now? Guard answered. Vanished. Our trackers lost his signal. 2 days ago, the Emperor narrowed his eyes. Then he's already moving. Across the galaxy, fear began to grow. In secret comes in black market channels. Story spread. The ghost from Earth is alive. He killed the Empire's best. He sent a warning to the throne. And one question passed from planet to planet. What will the Empire do now? Back on Earth, in the hidden bunker, Cade sat alone. He had cleaned his blade, checked his gear, then walked to a wall covered in names. His old team, Earth's lost, warriors all gone. He lit a candle for each, then paused at the last. One, his name, Cade Wren, scratched deep into the steel. He placed his hand on it. Finished yet, he whispered. He turned to leave, then something beeped. A signal, weak, old, but real. Coming from another ghost beacon, his eyes narrowed. Another survivor. Or a trap. Didn't matter. He would go. Because if any part of his team still lived, he would find them. In space, the Empire prepared its armies. More fleets, more soldiers, more machines. But something had changed. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. It was about fear, about reputation, and about one simple truth. They couldn't kill him. And now he was sending messages, declaring war. Not with a fleet, not with diplomacy, but with bodies. The Emperor finally spoke. One human is shaking. Our foundation. He turned to his generals. I want every corner of the galaxy searched, every ghost beacon scanned, every rebel or survivor executed. He leaned forward, and if Cade Wren shows his face again, a pause. Do not capture him. A whisper. Erase him. But deep down, even the Emperor knew. You can't erase a ghost. Not when it chooses to rise. Not when it becomes a message written in blood. The Empire had armies. It had fleets of warships. Machines that crushed planets. And assassins born in labs. But it didn't understand. Earth not really. They thought humans were weak, emotional, disorganized. They never expected this. Cade Wren wasn't the strongest human, or the smartest, but he had something they could never break. Will, deep in space, on a forgotten moon near the Imperial core, something exploded. A secret Empire base. Gone. Scorched walls. Melted turrets. Inside, they found a single message burned. Into steel. Stop chasing ghosts. Okay. The Emperor was furious. They had spent millions of credits. Lost elite forces. Shaken the loyalty of whole star systems over one man. But it wasn't just Cade. Anymore, that's what terrified them. Across the galaxy, people began to resist. Humans and non-humans alike whispered his name. The ghost is real. He fights alone and wins. He's Earth's warning. In a small rebel station near the Outer Rim, a group of fighters watched a shaky transmission. Cade's face, scarred, calm. He spoke one sentence. Don't wait for orders. Be the resistance. That was all, but it was enough. Back on Earth, Cade walked through the remains of an old Earth command base. Dusty floors, dead screens, until one turned on. Green light blinked. Ghost, beacon signal found. He stepped closer. Then the screen showed a map, and on it, multiple locations lit up. Other survivors, other ghosts they had hidden, they had waited. Then now they were waking up. The Empire panicked. He's rebuilding the Ghost Division. One officer shouted, he's turning rebels into soldiers. The Emperor stood, then destroy Earth. Within hours, a fleet was moving toward the Sol system. Heavy destroyers, orbital burners. Enough firepower to erase the planet, but they were already too late. Cade had left Earth. He struck shipyards, supply lines, fuel stations, and always, he left something behind, a warning, a symbol, a single ghost painted in red. One by one, Empire systems began to fail. Rebel cells grew bolder. Smugglers carried weapons marked with Earth's old logo, the shattered circle. And everywhere, people asked the same question. What made that human so unstoppable? It wasn't tech. It wasn't weapons. It wasn't training. It was something the Empire never understood. Humans don't stop. Even when broken, even when alone, even when forgotten, they get back up. They adapt. They fight on the bridge of the last surviving Empire dreadnought. The Emperor looked out at a sky filled with rebellion. His empire was cracking, and far in the stars, a small stealth ship appeared, lone. Cade was coming. He wasn't bringing a fleet. He wasn't bringing friends. He brought something worse. A war Earth had trained for since the day it nearly destroyed itself. A whisper reached the Emperor's ears like a shadow moving across his mind. You sent killers. You sent fire. Now I send extinction. The screen flickered. Cade's face, older now, tired but unbroken. His eyes locked with the You asked what Earth's real weapon was, Cade said. A pause. Then he spoke the truth. It was never our guns. It was us. The signal ended. Silence, then alarms. The dreadnought shook. Explosions. Lights died. And just before everything went black, the Emperor whispered, a single human. The Empire fell. Not from fleets, not from invasions, but from one idea. One human, who refused to kneel, and in the ashes of stars. Rebels rose, because now they knew a Death Worlder doesn't need backup. He is the backup.